Where's the best place to find a cheap couch? Facebook Marketplace? But where's the best place to buy industrial plastic? A Facebook group? You may not know this, but industrial plastic sellers and consumers are going into Facebook groups and just posting deals. This is extremely inefficient because almost everyone has been scammed at least once or twice. So Léna and Lance went out to create a better marketplace, one where buyers and sellers would have a reputable platform to do business on. Léna, do you mind telling us a bit more about Scrapp?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of background on
Sure.
where I come from, or what I did before starting Scrap. So I'm originally French German, but have lived across several countries in the last couple of years. And before moving to Singapore, I was actually working in Kenya, in Nairobi, for a plastic recycling startup there, and really seen firsthand how this industry is developing and needs a lot of development at the moment. There's a lot of change happening in this industry at the moment, more demand for recycled plastics, but not enough supply. So I've met Lance at this early stage incubation program called Antler in September and started talking about my experience there. And that's how we started the conversations about Scrap, on what can we do in this industry to help it and to make sure that plastics is less of a problem, but actually really becomes a solution, and that we can really close the loop and have this circular economy that everyone is talking about. So we looked into what are the inefficiencies currently, what does need to be changed, and with Lance's experience, decided to start this trading platform.
Léna and I met at the incubation program under this VC client. And the objective of the program is really for entrepreneur-minded people to find co-founders with complementary skills. So when Léna told me about her experience working, in Kenya, more on the business side of things and seeing the problems within the industry, it really appealed to that side of me that loves to take on challenges and solve difficult issues. And honest to God, the recycled plastics industry has a lot of issues to overcome. At the start of the program, we looked at many angles from which we could possibly help to, make things better, so to speak. And then you kind of fall back on what you know best. And for me, that has always been the finance world and how the markets come together to create efficiency. And Léna, at the same time, looked at how several other startups within this space tried to build online marketplaces to help the trading of recycled plastics be more efficient, but felt that they weren't doing that great a job with due respect to the competitors. So it became quite natural for us to look at it and say that she had the industry background and I have sort of the market/technical background. And therefore, we decided to then focus on the approach of creating a better marketplace for this industry. But we don't really like to think of it as a marketplace these days, because what most of the existing players out there have done is simply create post and search kind of B2B marketplace, which is very Alibaba style. Whereas we looked at it as the market doesn't really have a problem with finding each other. It's more of digitalization of the workflow, as well as solving the issues of knowing who to trust and having timely market data that was really plaguing the industry at becoming a lot more transparent and efficient, and thereby raising it to another level of, shall we say, completeness, so that recycled plastics can become the norm rather than the rarity right now, because the world is still largely using fossil fuels to generate plastic at the moment. So we like to think of ourselves as very different, and that's kind of our story. We took a lot of time to think about how we could add value to this industry, given in our backgrounds and the problems that it faced. And today, I think Scrap, we've came up with a solution that is pretty novel. We can't think of a second company that's actually doing exactly the same thing. And that in part has a lot to do with some of the insights I've gleaned into how commodity markets in general are linked to the financial markets, especially the derivative markets that you use to hedge transactions and things like that, and how they relate to the underlying spot market, how the indices are derived. And that particular aspect of it has not been covered by anyone in the recycled plastics industry so far, but is in fact really crucial to building a healthy and efficient market for any commodities. So that's the angle that we're coming in to create Scrap. It's going to take a while, But, hopefully by being there early, we can establish a very strong foundation in it and really be a market leader in time to come.
Yeah, because you guys are so much more than just a marketplace where the two industries can really find each other of those buyers and sellers, but you are also giving them that information on the financial side as well. So what the market is doing currently, and then, this is what you should sell for, this is what you should consider buying it for, that kind of thing, correct?
Yes. One feature that I'd like to point out also is, unlike any other platform out there, our sellers actually sell on an auction system. And that's one feature that we really hope would help the whole recycling of plastic as well, by helping our sellers discover the best price globally for the scrap plastic they have to sell. And basic economics, if prices go up, that encourages more players to come in, create more supply, and more plastic gets recycled. Hopefully, that's kind of by design our goal for this particular feature of our platform. And we are eagerly testing it now to see if it works.
Definitely. Very cool. And do you guys currently work with just businesses, or do you have any government connections exploring that option?
We don't explore, but very early days yet. Léna can probably share more. She does more of the business development now too.
I mean, currently most of the users are, like, all of the users are private, but a lot of the material recovery facilities specifically are publicly owned. So definitely a goal for us at some point to have them on the platform as well. But, of course, it's a public companies, just takes a bit longer with all the approvals that they would need to get them on the platform.
All the red tape that you have to go by.
we are talking to some of them already, but yeah, it will probably take another couple of months.
Gotcha. Awesome. And you created this platform to really connect the buyers and the sellers of the plastic and everything. What do you see as the big reason why you're doing this? These two industries really need to be able to communicate, know what's their prices, all of that, but what impact does that have globally on the world, climate change, those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I can think of right now is, like, because the market is so intransparent, a lot of buyers and sellers actually don't really know that there is plastic maybe just next door to recycle. So there's a lot of trade happening really across countries, also because of cheaper labor in other places and poor recycling infrastructure in some countries, but also definitely also because it's such an intransparent market. I mean, I've talked to a user in the UK who was telling me about a company in Chile that he wanted to buy PET from. And then he realized when they were talking that the price that he actually can sell his PET for was much higher than what he could get. So then they changed the trade, and then the UK company was selling the PET to Chile. So we're hoping that by creating a bit more transparency in the industry with our platform, that we can avoid such scenarios as well, and you have less and less of plastic being shipped around the world, and then of course reduce carbon emissions as well. And also, as Lance put it previously, hopefully by having better prices for sellers and incentivizing people to actually really sell the plastic that they've collected, we can actually have more plastic recycled, which also has a lot of benefits for the environment, not just pollution, but also in terms of CO2 emissions.
Very cool. Being able to just make the market transparent, and so exactly where you can benefit from, is really great for businesses to become more efficient. That's definitely really good. So in terms of kind of transitioning now to social media marketing, what are your guys' goals in terms of social media for 2022? Are you planning on trying to use different campaigns for different platforms? What are your plans?
I think the key challenge for us right now is the world of waste management, of which plastic recycling is a subset of. One of the key issues we face, not just in social media, but in reaching our target users, in particular, is the fact that this industry is very traditional, very fragmented, very disorganized in some countries, especially in developing countries, where the government may not have that active a stance in managing post-consumer waste. And even in the developed countries, waste management and the recycling business is often seen to be a rather unglamorous, sort of a little bit messy and dirty. So it's not the kind of sexy or high-tech business that industries that is common these days, especially for startups. Therefore, within the ecosystem, the community and the players who are involved in this business are also, shall I say, relatively unsavvy in their social media use, as well as just digitalization in general. So one of the interesting things that we find is there is a lot of activity going on in LinkedIn groups, in Facebook groups, where people are literally just posting deals and trying to cut deals. Yeah, like all over the world. And they're dealing with random strangers on social media. There are Facebook groups that numbers in the tens of thousands. I think the largest one is about 60 over 1,000 just for plastic alone, recycled plastic and scrap plastic. So the good news is a lot of these players, especially the smaller ones, do use social media. But so far as social media was never intended to be a business platform, in a way they're using it in the wrong way. So while it's easy for us to find them there, it is such a messy, literally use the word cowboy town, that it's almost like the Wild West. So when we reach out on social media, we are also very careful about what is coming back to us, because Scrapp as a platform, we are trying to resolve the issue of trust in the industry. Almost everyone we've spoken to has been scammed once or twice, and that the fact that you're dealing with random strangers on social media platforms from halfway across the world just increases that risk tremendously.
Yeah, definitely.
So while on the one hand, that's the dilemma, we can reach these users. On the other hand, reaching the users in this way is not exactly how we want to do user acquisition safely and efficiently in the first place. That said, it does then present a very easy route for us to get the word out in terms of just pure branding and marketing. And in that respect, the converse is true, because the waste management industry and recycled plastics in general is a relatively small industry compared to other, big industries like tech and everything. You do find that in very specific social media groups. You would find, you Google waste management or plastic recycling on LinkedIn, you'll find very specific groups that compose of a few thousand people. And these are potentially, especially on LinkedIn, professionals from the biggest waste management companies in the world. So it's a very niche audience that we are reaching out to within the world of social media. And there are very niche and established online media companies that reaches out to them, publications, especially from the US. The largest online media publications I found in this field are actually from the US, and then maybe that India or China. But then China's social media exists in an entirely separate ecosystem on its own, as you probably know. So let's not put China in the equation. Let's just talk about Western social media in general. So there are these two sides to it. But as we start to explore how we can then brand and market ourselves within this very niche social media groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, personally, I'm starting to find that it has been a challenge trying to capture eyeball and attention. Again, because the people in this industry see it as just something that sits there. Social media is not something that they see as like a high priority in terms of generating business or networking, because again, the folks in this business are still very traditional. Business is still done through lunches, face-to-face meeting, deals get done through relationships. It's not so sophisticated. And therefore, they probably have a LinkedIn account because everyone else does, and then look at it once in a while. And for us, that is a challenge. We can't really employ many of the common B2B or B2C platform tactics that you would hear most, Silicon Valley style startups would do. So that's one very big challenge. The second big challenge is how do we increase visibility of what we're doing beyond just those people who are involved in the industry already and are really found within this Facebook and LinkedIn groups. And by that, I mean, perhaps, for example, the VCs and angel investors who would like to reach out to the other, interested members of the public who might possibly be an employee or just be a supporter of what we do. The waste management business and recycling business, again, is not a very glamorous and sexy business to be in. So how do we craft messages that appeals, can potentially go viral? Well, it's a bit ambitious. I'm not even thinking viral at this point. I'm just thinking like a decent reach, because there is very little that you can say about this industry or this business that hits the usual criteria of what human beings are naturally intrigued by. And by this, I mean things like, you are a social media, professional in this, Billy. You would probably have noticed by now that a lot of things that goes viral on social media, either because they are controversial or everybody's criticizing something or someone, or it's a scandal. Human beings love to talk about scandals. You know, all this news that surrounds some kind of celebrity or well-known figure like Elon Musk says something on Twitter. But the recycled plastics and the waste management industry does not have much of that. So that there are very little from conventional social media wisdom that you can pull and say, if I put this image out, if I put this video or this story out, chances are it will catch attention. There's very little of those formulas that we can apply in an industry where things are so traditional and unglamorous and nothing much big actually happens. So that's a big challenge for us in our social media strategy.
Yeah, definitely. No, I understand that. It's definitely more challenging when the industry is more traditional. There's definitely ways of, like you mentioned, these social media groups where they're just posting deals up there and trying to close deals. There's definitely a potential there with working in that group and trying to just direct message and try to get some conversation started. Is definitely different ways of approaching it. It's definitely, like you mentioned, trying to get something to go viral for, a majority of companies. The goal is really not to go viral because you don't want just everybody and their mother watching it, right? You want the people who are actually going to be interested and then actually going to be contacting you. That's who you want really interested in it, contacting it, and sharing with the people in their industry so that they're coming to you. We don't want them, sharing with brother who have no interest in what you do, right? There's social media to go viral, and that's very popular because everybody's like, oh, I want to be famous. I want to be, this and that. And honestly, the less glamorous route, but the much more effective for businesses route is to really go towards direct marketing and direct messaging and really just trying to meet those people exactly who you were looking for, not to go viral, but just to get them and get them sharing in their industry. It's you've got the right idea there with your goals for social media. Have you done anything so far? I know you mentioned you've been seeing these Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. Have you done any outreach and messaging in those groups yet?
Yeah, we have. So the initial first round, we focused on what we noticed people in these groups generally do, which is to post deals. So when we were trying to clear the investor pitch in our program to get that so-called pre-seed investment from Antler, we took that approach and basically post deals in order to attract users to come to our platform and sign up. So that is round number one. And now perhaps if you think of it as round number two, now we're trying to go beyond that to brand and position the company a little bit by sharing news and developments, the usual stuff from our company. I've been thinking harder about developing content marketing. As you've rightly pointed out, in B2B enterprise sales, you really want to send the message out to the right people and do lead conversion. And predominantly in enterprise sales, you do that through a lot of content marketing. Things like creating research-based articles or even longer white papers. Unfortunately for us as a startup, we are only just beginning to start to engage more manpower. So it is not easy for us to scale up the production of original content, high-value content that can attract industry professionals to want to come to our website or leave their contact details so that we can then use that as a mechanism for outreach. So it will take a while. Then there's the other option that we are looking at now of producing user-generated content. It's taken me a while to figure out how I could possibly do that without having a lot of money and a lot of manpower. But we are taking a shot, and you will see this in the latest version of our website, which we have just released yesterday, which is to encourage our potential user base to come and report about the scams and frauds they face in the industry. Because since it's a problem that most people have encountered, nobody's kind of policing it. There's not been a recycling industry specific resource to go to check if certain company you're talking to is credible, to have good reputation out there. We are taking the initiative and the lead to do this. So hopefully that will generate some user-generated content for us, which we'll then share on social media that will lead back to, again, click-throughs and traffic on our website. It's a form of branding and marketing. So that's our latest attempt at tapping into social media as a means for us to get the word out and to do user acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. And you could have some comparisons like, oh, do business with this company, don't do business with this company, like, checks and X's and stuff like that, and being like, oh, these are scams, like don't go over here, kind of. But that's definitely a great idea to, and it's also a way to showcase the companies that are on your website, on your app too. So you can say like, these are great companies, don't work with these guys. So it's a good way to show that comparison and show that you're really trying to make this ecosystem a better place for everybody, which is really awesome.
Would you have any suggestions for us? Any ideas off the top of your head on how we could be more effective?
That's great. Coming up with that scam meter, I liked it on your website. I thought that was pretty cool, and how you're going to make sure as well you're going to call them and contact them and say like, hey, like let's verify that you're like a legit person, so that we don't get any like people who are just trying to demonize somebody or something like that, which is really great. Also, you could also try creating your own group on either Facebook or LinkedIn and inviting people into that group who are vetted, right? Who are saying these are the people that are doing great stuff and they are actually legit and they're not scammers and stuff like that. You can come into our great community and then also use our app platform to go from there. And in that community, you could also say post things that are happening in your business, post news happening or something interesting you saw in this industry. Just having that user generated content is great as well, for them to just be posting about things and commenting on each other's posts, and keeping people active is a great way to do that. And you could even to invite people into that group and keep the engagement up. You can run like challenges in that group where you can say like, hey, if you bring in 5 other companies that are great that you've worked with, we'll give you something in return, like a discount, or we have this prize, or we'll introduce you to 5 other companies or something like that. Some way to incentivize them being active will really just ramp up a group and be able to get you more members, and also to get that engagement and really benefit the marketplace as well. So it's not only just good for you guys, but it's good for your clients and potential people you're working with as well. So what do you think?
Some great ideas there. We tried this a little bit on our app. So we do have like one corner of the app where they can just post and share stuff.
Nice.
Hasn't really worked yet, but we also don't have that many users yet, and we do have to activate it a bit more to make sure stuff happens.
Right. Yeah. And you've got to incentivize with things too. So favorite channel is WIFM. What's in it for me? So you've got to be able to say like, if you do this, you'll get this, right? You have to incentivize it at the beginning, because people don't want to put in the effort when they don't see that like direct correlation, even though it's going to be great for them for posting that and seeing other people post great things about the industry and people they've worked with and stuff. If they don't have a initial reason to, that direct instant gratification, they're not going to do it. So you've got it'd be a good way to really get increased engagement, and also to be able to increase the value of your app and your group. So what is one way that somebody, if they wanted to reach out to you, what is one specific way for them to get in touch?
Just ping either of us, on LinkedIn, or send us an email, contact us on our.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. LinkedIn is a great place.